When you start thinking about somebody's life and times, particularly in this context where, you know, they've left such an indelible mark on their chosen field of work and on our lives, we often focus solely on their professional accomplishments and we ignore the qualities of the person themselves. And certainly our friend Juan here has a great many achievements under his belt that we could speak about. As you can see, he's had a very illustrious career. His training actually began in his hometown, Valencia, on the shores of the Spanish Mediterranean in the early 1980s, when he was probably about 12. After a PhD in Madrid, Juan eventually decided to spend about a decade split between Canada and Germany before he was drawn back home again. And he's been in his current position at the Institute of Biomedicine in Valencia since around about 1998. It's about 25 years in one place. So that itself is pretty laudable. Not many of us have got that sort of job security these days, but it's hardly surprising because Juan is both deeply rooted to his hometown, its culture and its cuisine, but also he's very close to his family. And this is probably about the time you started university, wasn't it?
This is in the 100th birthday.
Exactly.
Of my great-grandmother.
It's a career of substance. I don't think anybody will dispute that. You've got 400 or more papers indexed in PubMed, 32,000 odd citations in Google Scholar, 21,000 in Scopus. So he's certainly risen to great heights, and I don't just mean literary heights or academic heights. He's also literally been higher on this planet than many of us. In this particular photo, he is actually on an expedition to the top of Kilimanjaro in East Africa. But his work is widely cited, and he's regarded as being among the top 2% of all scientists in the world, and in the top 1,000 biologists and biochemists in the world. So for that alone, we're in very honoured company, I think you could say. But he has other talents. He has other talents, folks. And of course, there's his good friend Bruno, and I have to confess, Bruno, Mahmoud and Shema are all co-conspirators. Don't just shoot me, okay? As Bruno said, if you haven't tasted the paella that's cooked by this guy, you can't be considered a true toxinologist yet. It's something absolutely exceptional. And he will travel with his paella pan. If he doesn't have one, you will be told to get out into the streets and find something that can be used for one. Get a grinder, cut it down and make it work.
It worked because I enjoy work.
So, this has led to some interesting confrontations in his time, including the Great Paella War of the IST in Miami. And Juan is more than happy to fight anybody who gets in the way of a good paella. But going back to his career, one of the things that he's really well known for is the birth of this term that we call Venomics, the use of all of this biochemistry technology to better understand the venoms of the animals that we work with. And of course, subsequent to that, there's been the evolution of antivenomics, using similar techniques so that we can also better understand the interaction between the venoms and the antivenoms that we're hoping may be able to be of therapeutic benefit to people. Now, he's passed this information on to a lot of people. This, for example, is the opening of a new proteomics facility at ICP in Costa Rica. It was responsible for it largely, Calvete, of course. And after official openings of anything, you have to make sure that everything is working in the lab. Before you get to the real nature of collaboration, beer and food. And this is a very important thing, and something you'll find is a common trend throughout Juan's life, is this interest in beer and food. And indeed, no matter where he goes, beer, food, great collaborations that produce really fantastic science are very important. Whether he's in Costa Rica, whether he's in Uruguay, whether he's in Kenya, the same sort of things all come into play. And good food, good beer, stimulating conversation leads generally to very good science. So we'll all be very pleased about that. But he's very much unlike many of the so-called lab rats that spend their lives chained to the bench. This guy ventures out into the world and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. As you can see here, injecting venom into lizards to see will the lizard die. Putting on a life vest and heading out to try and find sea snakes. And I hope they weren't in the pool one. I hope they weren't in the pool afterwards.
No.
Probably not a good idea. And he's quite intrepid. He will take on some of the big challenges. This guy will go up against giants anywhere. He will stand in the middle of Savo East National Park with his cup of coffee, and if the elephants don't like it, tough. By the same token, he'll take on the one job that nobody involved in the extraction of venom from snakes ever wants, to hold the anus so that it doesn't spray everywhere. But he does what has to be done, and he gets what he needs to get done. And he's if Juan wants you to know how he feels about something, he will let you know. And of course, often this is very taxing on his time. And usually by the end of the day and a lot of discussion, he has to resort to his natural form and crashed out on the couch. I was sent dozens of photographs all over the world of this guy test driving couches. He's had very many honours in the past. Among them, the Reddy Award 2019, the Vital Brazil Medal in 2013, and you can see he treats these with great reverence. These are something that are very important to him. But what you don't know about Juan is that long before President Putin made it popular, long before our erstwhile Scandinavian friend Brian Fry, the trumpet, there was the original toxinology Playboy of the Month. And this exemplifies the character that makes Juan so memorable. Okay, he is willing to go where nobody else is willing to go. He will wear a chicken suit to Hooters. He will mentor the young and the impressionable. And he'll invest many, many hours in trying to convince them to take up a path of a career in science. This guy likes the outdoors. One of the many things he will do is go out into the fields and contemplate the universe. And I'm not sure what he's pointing to there, whether it's examining the theory of gravity or not, but this is something that we often find when we take one anywhere out in the field. He does really weird things. But he will admit, and he'll be the first to admit, that it's not just the man himself. This is a guy who surrounds himself with a team, whether it's collaborators overseas or whether it's the people that support him in his laboratory, his wife Livia, and the cadre of students, of postdocs, technicians that have worked with him over the years. Everything he does is done as a team. And that's one of the greatest qualities that I think he has. But I'll turn to these other co-conspirators now. Bruno wants to let you know one. And this is his opinion, that you've been a true game changer in snake venom research. Creative and lucid scientific mind has pioneered and opened new fundamental visions of the field by harnessing the power of omics to bring a great leap forward in today's knowledge on venoms and antivenoms. And Chema, I'll let you browse through most of it, but as Chema said in 2007, when ICP were getting interested in going into the field of proteomics, they reached out to Juan and he immediately began collaborating with them, showed incredible generosity, opened his laboratory and offered all the help and vast knowledge in the field. And that support has continued and strengthened over the years. He's visited their institute many times. He has wonderful friendships there. He's part of their family. And they can say without a doubt that he has played a key role in strengthening Costa Rican regional capacity in that particular field. So I think that's a really important takeaway message. I guess from My own perspective, this guy I've known for about 15 years has been a wonderful friend and collaborator. He's honourable, he's trustworthy. He listens to what you have to say, and he doesn't just always agree with you. He will challenge your thoughts, and he's a brilliant mentor as well as a brilliant friend. So I hope you'll all join with me in congratulating him on being the recipient of this 2023 Lifetime Achievement Award. Oh, we've been in everybody's drawers, don't worry. Now you get to reply.
I feel very honored, particularly because the story was partly as David told you, but not exactly. I'm not the kind of guy that from here was playing with snakes or with other animals. I never had this vocation for extracting venoms and so on. So I have not been a toxinologist from vocation. I have been a toxinology just by serendipity, because one thing drives you to another, and from protein chemistry, I one time my boss at the Max Planck Institute in Munich told me, I have a colleague that have discovered something that they call disintegrins, and can you help them with the disulfide bonds? Because I was doing disulfide bond pattern from the fibrinogen receptor, and these were antagonists of fibrinogen receptor. So I started there with this toxin. Was the first time I started with toxins at the end of the 80s. And then once in another place in Hanover, I was not working with toxins at all, but there was a mass spectrometer. So I got started to play with the mass spectrometry. And then back in Valencia, we used also mass spectrometry to continue with disintegrin. At one time point, you isolate disintegrin from different venoms, and to quantify and to make structure function correlations. But you also realize that you were throwing away most of the 95% of the venom from the HPLC. So since we had to collect the full chromatogram, we started to collect also the individual components and did this paper that you saw from 2007. And suddenly I got an email from Lyle Gibbs, which is an ecologist in the States, in Ohio State University, and he told me, my student just come across the door of my office, very angry, telling me, have you seen this paper? They have done what with my PhD projects. And so he wrote me and said, how is possible? I have used the proteomic services in the States, and the only that I got is a hit to a metalloproteinase and nothing else. How did you do this? And yes, I told this is the novo sequencing, etc., etc. Can we collaborate? And since then we collaborated, and you realize that something that you did was also of interest of others. So collaboration is good, but also is good if it is good for the others, not only for you. And this is what we have done over the years. And with Chema and my brothers in Costa Rica, they are the son of a bitch for sending all these pictures. Particularly the one with they send only the picture from the front, not from the back. And it was a similar story also by casualty, because we met in a meeting in Brazil, and I had no idea about snake bite and venoming, about the tragedy of the people, about all these things, because in Spain we have only three snakes that do not cause any trouble. And so speaking with them, we find out that they have a burden in their country, and we have the technology that would help to analyze the venoms and antivenoms and so on. So from that moment, we immediately realized that we're complementary, and I become also in love with the field and started to do things. So things many times come just by casualty, by serendipity, and on the good thing of this field is that without collaboration, without friendship, without many people, you alone cannot do anything, not only in your lab, but also internationally. So I'm very grateful for all the collaborative works that we had along this career. And well, why me and not others receive this award? This is, I think, is mostly because I have attended all the 10 editions of this conference. And also because I'm getting old, otherwise it would be an award for a long life achievement. So yes, good side, and another one is closer to the crematorium. And the first picture that David showed you in the slides, but well, we will continue, and most of you are also an example for me for continuing. And since I could retire this year, I promise that at least for the next 4 years that I still be inactive, I will be attending this conference, which, by the way, I can always say, you are also witness that this is my favorite meeting in toxinology, over other more famous and more well attended, but that is so. So thank you for all of you. Thank you for all of you also.
Juanjo.
Hola. Hola.
Qué bueno. Muchas felicidades, Juanjo. Muchas felicidades. Estamos muy felices.
Gracias, lo mojaremos.
Buena nota.
Ya les tiraré de las orejas a Bruno y a Mamut, sobre todo a Mamut.
Muy bueno, felicidades, un abrazo.
Venga, saludos.
Chao.